Hey, it's our weekly streaming show, and here's a sneak peek at our top streamer of the week. Go get you some Sam Howell, rostered in just 18% of Yahoo leagues, coming off a bounce-back game against the Eagles where he nearly pulled off the upset. He'll face the woeful Bears defense this week, which just gave up 3 touchdowns to Russell Wilson and ranks 26th in AFPA to opposing quarterbacks. Expect Howell to be a regular player in this spot. Go pick him up in a nice matchup. Now let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone, to the Most Accurate Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Niles. With me is my excellent co-host, the incomparable Jen Akins. Jen, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well. Week 5. We're like, what, a third of the way through, pretty much?
Madness.
Madness good and also madness bad, right? No, I'm good. I'm, hanging in there. Fall's here. Excited. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm wearing the Blazer hat because it's been a rough week, but I would say not that this is a basketball podcast, but I would say it's sad that we've lost Damian Lillard. Thankful for what he brought to Portland, and I'm happy we're moving forward in a direction. And I hope Dame has a great time in Milwaukee. That's where I've landed.
That's very nice of you. I expect nothing less from you. I know you're a fan, and that can be tough. But
it's tough. Thank you, Samson. Presented apologies for my loss. I thank you very much, Samson. Hi, Tom. Thanks for joining us in the chat today. This is our weekly streaming show where we highlight quarterbacks, tight ends, kickers, team defenses you should be targeting as streaming options for the upcoming week. Before we get going into that, for the past month, we've been discussing players to target in Underdogs Battle Royale and Mini Royale. So let's do that before we dig into some streaming options. Think of these contests like DFS, GPP tournaments, except you select players via snake draft rather than with the salary cap constraint. So we're looking for unique but not too contrarian players that are in great spots for success. This week, I'm eyeing Brian Robinson. Only Denver ranks lower in AFPA to opposing running backs than the Bears do. Robinson's averaging 16.5 touches per game. If he goes near that against this Bears defense, I feel like he's a lock to be at least a solid RB2 option. He's had 4 touchdowns already, 3 rushing and 1 receiving. Brian Robinson, not too terribly expensive, not the sexiest pick, but I think he's going to have a good game against this Bears defense. Jen, who's your guy?
So I know we're supposed to not go too contrarian. I'm going contrarian this week, and I'm going with Zackety Zach.
Hey,
I'm going with Zackety Zach Wilson against the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos are allowing the most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. They've allowed the second most passing yards this season. It's a big tournament. No one's taking Zackety Zach, especially when there's only 6 teams drafting at once. So you got to go pretty far down the quarterback list there to get Zach. So why not? If you're doing multiple, if you're only doing 1 entry, maybe not Zackety Zach. But if you're doing a few and you want to go contrarian, Zach Wilson is there for you. He's coming off a pretty good week too.
Yeah, the Broncos defense does not look like it's showing up. I think it's very, very worth gambling a little bit. And Zackety Zach may came up again in this show. We'll see.
So your guy Brian Robinson is going to come up again as well in this show. So
excellent. If you are not a member over at 4for4.com, be sure to go to 4for4.com/plans. Use the promo code YouTube to save 25% off any subscription right now. That's promo code YouTube 4for4.com/plans. We've got one question. Let's hit one question before we get going into our streamers. Hi, Luis29. Got offered Travis Etienne and Josh Jacobs for Sam Laporta, Joe Mixon, and Damian Pierce in a full PPR 8-person team. Thoughts on the offer? So I'm not sure what your other tight end situation is, but I like that, I think, because I think Etienne and Jacobs are a pretty big advantage over Mixon and Damian Pierce. What do you think, Jen?
Yes, I agree there. I know some people are a little down on Jacobs. He's going to be fine. I think he's going to be more fine than Pearson and Mixon. So, and Etienne has been fine. So, I don't hate that. Okay. He has Goddard on the bench. So yeah, I think that's, I would do that. And by the way, Brandon, I appreciate that you went with the 8-person instead of 8-man team. You went with the, I appreciate that.
We're all trying.
As a female in the space,
We're always trying to do better, Jen. That's how it goes. Tom wants to know if we like Tyler Higbee or Cole Kmet rest of season in a no tight end premium half PPR format. I could go either way on this, but my brand demands that I say Cole Kmet and that I go anti Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, that is your brand. I lean Higbee. I understand that Kmet had a great game last week. I don't think we see that again. They don't play the Broncos every week, so I think that Higbee is boring as all get out, but I think he's in a better spot rest of season. You're on mute there, Brandon.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you so much. It's it's not early Tuesday, but it feels early Tuesday. That's what it feels like to me. So I'm working on it. So
yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. All right. So let's get into some quarterback streaming options. As a reminder, we only discuss a streaming option if they're available in 40% or less of Yahoo leagues. So if your favorite option isn't discussed, they're probably rostered in too many leagues. I'm going to say it's a decent week to stream quarterbacks. I talked about Sam Howell at the top. Like I said, Chicago's 26th at AFPA. Howell was the QB 12 last week. He's the QB 18 on the season. And really, he just has the horrible, no good game against Buffalo. And the rest of the season, he's been pretty good. So he's not running like we hoped, but he's throwing the ball pretty well. And the matchup is great. So I kind of like him as he's going to be kind of weekly. I'm going to be bringing up Sam Howell. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's kind of fringe. For kind of like Brock Purdy was at the end of last year, right? Like he was always just under 40%. Was a decent enough option. Other guys, I like Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs was the QB6 last week, QB 15 on the season. He's averaging 6 carries per game, has 141 yards and a touchdown on the ground so far this season. Cardinals are kind of plucky. Marquise Hollywood-Brown, Michael Wilson, like those receivers aren't too bad. Bengals are 24th in AFPA to opposing quarterbacks, so that Bengals defense is not showing up. Bengals offense is not showing up. So I kind of like Josh Dobbs. I think he's someone you can kind of look at. I don't love the schedule that they have after this week, so I don't like him. Like if you want someone for a few weeks, I'd definitely go Howell. But this week, Dobbs is a pretty nice option. And then, like you said, Jen, Zach at Denver, they're dead last in AFPA, and it wasn't just Miami. Justin Fields threw for like 4 touchdowns against. Zach was the QB 13 last week against a pretty tough Chiefs defense. And let's not forget, while I'm not saying Zach Wilson is the future, is great, or anything like that, he played horribly against Dallas and New England. I mean, Dallas and New England are really, really good. So I think it's fair to give him like a little leniency. Maybe he's not quite as bad as those 2 games presented.
I had a conversation with someone on Twitter during that game, and you get to a point where you feel bad for Zach. I mean, he gets absolutely no respect, like zero. I mean, when you look at the other quarterbacks around the league, or really any player, I mean, he gets so very little respect. So it was actually really nice to see him make some good plays this past weekend. Started to feel for the guy. I'm like, it's tough, right? We all know the situation. Like, getting to the NFL is a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And so it's so brutal when people are like, oh, he's bad at football, he sucks. Like, he obviously clearly does not suck. He got to the highest level that like 2% of the world can get to, or whatever the numbers are. So I'm starting to turn around on Zach. He's getting to me in that the pulling the heartstrings. Maybe it's the mom in me. I don't know. But it was nice to see him do well. And like you said, he's got such a good matchup.
He's got that baby face, so the mother instinct does come out, right? He looks like he's like 14. I don't like that hyperbole anyway, like the way, like we hear it a lot, and we know I like Najee Harris and Cam Akers and guys like that. Cam Akers is harder to defend right now, but I will say the hyperbole around them is that they are bad at football and bad people, and it's too much. I don't like that. Just we don't. Well,
it's just not true. I mean, they made it to the upper echelon of any. It's so difficult to get to where they got to.
Yeah. We can talk about usage and situation and whether or not they're the best.
To just say they're bad at football, it's just wrong.
Yeah, and lazy, honestly. So let's hit a couple questions before we move on to tight ends. Matt Cash is in a 12-person PPR league, just traded Alexander Madison, Roshan Johnson to the person who has Cam Akers, and got Jahmyr Gibbs back to go with their David Montgomery. So Madison and Roshan for Gibbs in a PPR. I'm okay with that. Madison, I would understand someone saying Madison's the best option, but I think Gibbs is fine. I think he's going to keep doing better. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I think you kind of traded a bunch of mid-grade people there.
Yeah.
I kind of like. I know people are down on Gibbs, and I get it. I mean, we're 4 weeks in, and he's not getting the volume, but he's good when he gets it. He will get his. I feel like, yeah, I like that trade. And Monty, of course, has been a pleasant surprise for those who drafted him, including myself, who lost because I left him on the bench last week. I did.
Yeah, I luckily all the leagues where I have David Montgomery, I don't have options to make that a question for me. Like, I'm always starting David Montgomery.
I started I started Rachaad White over him, and I mean Rachaad White was fine, but I should have started Monty because I lost by like 4 points, and I would have absolutely crushed the guy I was playing against. And it's funny because I do it every Thursday morning. Well, morning for me. Thursday at 10 a.m., 12 Eastern. I do a Discord AMA in our private Discord server, and I had a lot of questions, and I told everybody to start Montgomery, and then I didn't.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Sometimes you have to
listen.
take
I'd
your
rather
own great advice, Jim.
No, and I'd rather the subscribers win, more than myself. So I'm cool with it.
Certainly. Stephen L. will just disagree on Najee Harrison. That's okay. Steven's in a full PPR redraft. Would we trade Derrick Henry for CD Lamb and Cortland Sutton? I mean, as long as you've got other running backs, I'm on board for that.
I was going to say it depends on who else you have. I don't love Cortland Sutton, and I mean, I clearly, yeah, but I do. I believe in Derrick Henry. I know a lot of people tried to flip him last week, and then he had a really good week. So, but yeah, I don't hate that. It's like I said, it depends on who else you have.
And I think Dallas is gonna be in some less lopsided contest over the course of the rest of the year. So,
yeah, it looks like he's got Bijan, Kamara, and Javonte. So yeah, I think they're fine there.
Yep, I would do that. Tom wants to know if we should start Sam Howell over Russell Wilson. I would. I just like the matchup better, and both are kind of iffy in general. But although Denver quietly is like top half of the league in points scored right now, the defense is really the thing letting them down the most. But I would start Howell over Russ. So let's see here. And Mike GP, hi. Would we trade away? I'm assuming Richardson and Pittman for Jamar Chase. Other quarterbacks are Jordan Love and Justin Fields. Other receivers are Jefferson, Ridley, Pickens, London, and Watson. So let's see here. I think that's buying low on Chase, and you have enough receivers and enough quarter. Yeah, I think I would do that. That's tough, but I think I would do it. What do you think, Jen?
I was actually reading something else, so let me catch up real quick.
Yeah, so Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman for Chase.
Okay, he's got Love and Fields. My other wide receivers, Jefferson, really, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. I don't know that you need to do that, but I think Chase is definitely, well, not definitely, but I think Chase is in a good spot to bounce back. He's definitely a buy low guy, and right now people are panicking, and I get it. Listen, I'm a Joe Burrow manager who is panicking, but thankfully I also have Sam Howell.
Excellent. All right, so it's time for the most important question that I ask you every day, and the question that
every day
I do. I ask you every day. Sometimes every hour. It's the most anticipated question in fantasy football podcasting, and that's, Jen, is it a good week to stream tight ends?
It is a medium to high week to stream tight ends. Yeah, I'd give it like an 8. It's not the worst. It's not the absolute best, but there are some decent options at tight end. So I will just get into them, shall I? First guy we have is another Zackety Zach, not as fun and not as baby faced, and that would be Zach Ertz. This week, playing Cincinnati, he is 26% rostered. Weirdly, which really doesn't make sense because he's having a really good season, and he's still only 26% rostered. Bengals are 31st in the league against tight ends in adjusted fantasy points allowed.
Wow.
Yeah. Ertz is super boring, but at the same time, he's tight end 13 in half PPR points per game, and he's tight end 3 in targets per game, which is shocking.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
So, and he's there. He's, like I said, he's only in 26% of leagues. You're not going to be super stoked to grab him and root for him. Like I said, boring, but he'll get the job done in a very gross tight end landscape. So Zach Ertz is my first guy.
I love it. Can I interrupt you just
Yes,
this
please.
is not tight end related. I'm just curious. Are you buying Michael Wilson?
You were all over Michael Wilson
I
this
was.
summer.
I have him in a lot of best ball leagues and a lot of
think about you every time people talk about him because you were all over him this summer. I'm buying him as like a stash. This week is a very talk about, is this a good week to? It's a bad waiver wire week. There's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of guys. So he is one that you can just grab. I did not include him in my stash article, but I saw him a lot of people talking about him for waiver ads. So
I have a lot of Wilson. I have a lot of Wilson and I have a lot of Jaleel McLaughlin. So it's
nice.
The people in leagues with me are very upset at the waivers this week.
Yeah, I know, right? People go on, they're like stoked and like, really? Brandon already has him.
Why does he have him?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm down with Michael Wilson. So yeah, my second tight end. We're looking for a little rebound here, and that's Dalton Schultz against Atlanta. In Atlanta, he's 36% rostered, so he comes just under. I assume a lot of people have dropped him. I mean, he was very heavily drafted. He has not had a fantastic. He's tight end 24 right now and half PPR points per game. I think he's in a get right spot though against the Falcons. They're 30th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to tight ends. They're allowing 13.4 half PPR points a game right now to the tight end position. So I think he's in a good spot there. So he's my number 2 guy. Third guy I have this week is Logan Thomas against Chicago. I mean, right? We start everyone against Chicago. So
everyone.
Here we are again. Logan Thomas is back from his concussion, or not concussion. Wait, was it a concussion? Was it a hamstring?
I lost track.
Me too. But he's back. And he's only 6% rostered. He's actually tight end 9 right now in half PPR points per game with 7.1. Bears are 23rd against tight ends. So fire up Logan Thomas. He's available in 94% of leagues. So he's a good one to kind of have and really hang on to, especially with how gross tight end is. Tom says concussion. So my first thought, best thought, it was a concussion. Thank you, Tom. So yeah, those are the 3 tight ends that I have for you this week.
Excellent. Anthony, thanks for joining us in the chat. Likes Michael Wilson and agrees that Chicago's a good defense to target, especially in DFS formats. Thanks for listening, Anthony. We appreciate you. George Plays 01 wants to know if they should trade Jalen Waddle for James Cook. I mean, it really just depends what you need. I like both of those players.
I like them both too. That's a tough one.
So, whichever position you need, I like that side of it.
Yeah, exactly. If you have an abundance of running backs, which most people do not, then feel free to trade James Cook away. If you don't, I would hang on to him. But I really like Waddle too. So it really, like Brandon said, it just depends on your needs on your specific roster.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair trade, which is nice. It's always nice when you see a fair trade come through. On your Dalton Schultz comment, have you seen Houston's schedule this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it, but I don't off the top of my head. No, but did you see they broke out the Tootsie Pop uniforms this past weekend? Those things are
good.
Oh, I hate those.
Oh,
things.
I love them. I think they're great.
They look like a shiny little Tootsie Pop, or not a Tootsie. Yeah, the gum one, not the.
That's
Tootsie
what I
Roll.
like about them.
Okay, you like.
I don't know.
Okay, anyway, no.
No, the schedule is ridiculous, Jeff. Like, I looked before the season started, but now, like, I'm looking and they get those AFC South teams and I said, they've got, like you said, they've got Atlanta this week. Like, if you look at that schedule, it's hard to find a matchup that you're not excited about coming up. So,
yeah, they got the Jets, they have Denver, they have Cincinnati, they have Arizona. Yeah, you're right. They got a lot of
really good schedule to look at. So, all right. So, it's a pretty good week to stream tight end then. I like your Ertz and Schultz picks, especially. Logan Thomas is exciting as well. Is it a good week to stream kickers, Jen?
It's not a great week to stream kickers. I hate even saying that because I'm a kicker person.
Of course, yeah.
And I like to advocate for the kicker. I give it like a 4 or 5. It's not great. There are options though. There's always options. But it's not fantastic. First guy at the top is Riley Patterson. Excuse me. Riley Patterson against Carolina at home. He is 36% rostered, so he's right up against that streaming line, but he fits. So this team right now, so this game has the second highest spread, and they have the 4th highest implied team total. The Lions do. So they have an implied team total of 27, and their spread is 9. So Riley Patterson to me is kind of the clear top streamer in this bunch. So yeah, he'd be the one I'd go for. There's a couple other options though. Let's see. Second guy I have here is Joey Slye, because you know what? We start everyone against the Bears, and that includes the kicker. We're not going to leave him out. So Joey Slye is only 1% rostered, so he's there for you no matter what size your roster is, or what size your league is, I should say. They have an implied team total of 25.5, and they are 6.5 point favorites at home against the lowly Chicago Bears. So Joey Slye is my number 2 guy. Number 3 guy is Will Lutz, Denver. He's at home, mile high altitude against the Jets. He is 5% rostered. They're 2-point favorites, and they have an implied team total of 22.75. So it's not going to be a big bang and score matchup here, but if you need him, Will Lutz is there. He's available in 95% of rosters. I do have one more bonus.
Ooh, a bonus. I always love your bonus.
It is a bonus, and I'm going to preface this. I got a pretty nasty, no, it's not nasty, but I got a tweet after last week with a guy telling me that me saying that Matt Gay had a revenge game was the dumbest thing he's ever heard on a podcast.
Ever
yes,
heard. Wow.
Ever.
Okay.
And I wrote him back. I'm like, listen, it's tongue in cheek. Of course, Matt Gay, there's not a revenge game for a kicker. Like, it's whatever. It's just a joke because that's the narrative. So here we are. We've got a brother matchup. We've got Anders Carlson against Daniel Carlson.
Anders.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very important.
It is Anders. You're absolutely correct. So Anders Carlson is playing in Vegas against his older brother, Daniel. They are 2-point favorites, and they have an implied team total of 23.25. So listen, I mean, it's kind of a joke because obviously they have nothing to do with each other, but I think it's kind of cool. I don't know. I mean,
the Carlson Bowl. I love it.
I assume the Grammaticas probably kicked against each other once or twice, but I don't think it happens that often, right? In the league. I mean, you have other positional people battling, but I thought it was kind of cool that you've got a little brother bowl. No, that is not why you should start him, mean Twitter person. But I am just saying that I think it's funny. That's my bonus.
You're not a Game of Thrones person, right?
I'm not, no.
Yeah. So there's an episode, I'm just going to do this really fast, but there's an episode where someone is being punished, and they're basically paraded through the streets while someone behind them is ringing a bell saying shame, shame, shame over and over again. And that's what I think of whenever I just think of Twitter. I just think of the lady with the bell yelling shame, shame, shame over and over again.
Yeah, the account that tweeted that at me it's like a parody burner, I don't know, but I just thought it was funny. He told me it was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard in a podcast. I was like, wow, I'm kind of proud of myself that I somehow
nice.
Dumbest thing you've ever heard? I mean, really? Ever.
It's only listened to one podcast. That's it. I guess we should be thankful for the loyalty there, right? Because this must be the only podcast they listen to.
Yeah, true.
All right, so before we get to defenses, I want to take a minute to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Go to prizepicks.com/accurate. Use code ACCURATE for a first deposit match up to $100. For week 5 on my end, DeAndre Hopkins at more than 57.5 receiving yards against a struggling Colts secondary. Hopkins has eclipsed the number 2 out of 4 games. Colts have given up an average of 114.5 receiving yards to opposing wide receiver ones this season. That Colts secondary is just struggling like crazy. So I expect Hopkins to have his best day as a Titan this week. I'm going to say more than 57.5 receiving yards. What's your pick this week?
I am going with your boy from earlier, Brian Robinson. They have him right now as more than 6.5 receiving yards. So I actually did some legit research for this. You'll be proud of me.
Nice.
Okay. First of all, Gibson's in the doghouse, right? We know that. I think he's put 3 balls on the ground already in 4 games. Not good. So, okay, Robinson so far, he had 1 game where he had no receiving yards, but he had a game of 7, a game of 42, and a game of 6. So the Bears have allowed, so Aaron Jones week 1 had 86 receiving yards. Rachaad White week 2 had 30 receiving yards, and Jerick McKinnon had 19 receiving yards in week 3. And last week, Samaje Perine had 23. So in all 4 weeks, they have allowed a running back to have way more than 6.5 receiving yards. So that is my pick, Brian Robinson, more than 6.5 receiving yards.
Excellent. And those 16.5 touches per game he's averaging includes some receptions there too. So he's active.
I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, 6.5. I mean, that's one reception, really.
I love it. I was hoping for Wan'Dale Robinson to show up because I keep seeing the betting lines on Wan'Dale Robinson in other situations where if you want to bet, like last night, the betting line on DraftKings Sportsbook for Wan'Dale Robinson was over 1.5 receptions. And Wan'Dale Robinson, every time he's on the field, he's the most heavily targeted player in that Giants offense. So yeah, so if you ever see
bringing him back
1.5
slowly, but
I mean, he got like 5 catches, 40 yards or something like that. But he's definitely targeted. It absolutely works. Yeah. So let's go to defensive streamers. We talked about Riley Patterson against the Panthers. How about that Lions defense against the Panthers, right? The Panthers offense is really, really struggling. I kind of think Bryce Young looks better than people think he does. He doesn't look good, but I kind of think there's a little too much panic there when I watch the games. But 25th in AFPA right now to opposing defenses, the Carolina offense is. The Lions are 11th right now in the defense special teams 11 right now. So they're not playing bad. They've got a good pass rush. They've got an opportunistic secondary. Carolina's 24th in the league in points scored. And Detroit is tied for 7th in sacks, and Carolina is 8th in sacks allowed. And so I feel like Aiden Hutchinson is going to have a field day right now. And so the Lions, a pretty good option, just a pretty good option to stream right now. If you want a defense you can hold on to, I kind of like the Texans. I talked about that schedule that's coming up. You could just kind of hold on to the Texans right now. They're available they're only rostered in 4% of Yahoo leagues right now. They're the defense special teams 18 this year, but they're getting better every week. The Falcons are allowing they're 28th right now in AFPA to opposing defenses. So the Falcons offense really struggling. And they're 25th in points scored. So Houston needs to get after the quarterback more. They're not really sacking anybody over the course of the season, but they had 3 sacks last week. Jonathan Greenard is kind of turning into a wrecking ball. So the Houston Texans, I really like this team. I like what they're doing the rest of the season. That schedule is really enticing. I didn't realize just how easy that schedule looked until I kind of took a look this morning. And then, like you said, we start everything against Chicago. So if you need to, the Commanders, they're actually not a very good defense right now. So I don't love that, but they're getting better and they're kind of.
I picked them up last week for this contest, so yeah. I'm starting them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Watched it was in your stash section last week. They're tied for 7th in sacks. The Bears have the 7th most turnovers in the league right now. And then after this, the Commanders get the Falcons and Giants, so they're not bad for a few weeks as well. So those are my defensive streamers, and I'm going to be honest, it's a good week to stream defense. There's other defenses out there you can grab too. Green Bay's not a bad option. There's several out there. These are the 3 that I landed on that I like the most. I'm probably going to grab Houston. That's probably what I'm going to do. But Detroit's probably the best if you just want someone this week. If Tampa's your defense and you need someone for this week to cover the bye, then Detroit might be the best option right now. Tom wants to know if Kansas City's a meh defense with the Vikings this week in Denver in week 6. Yeah, I think they're kind of meh. Vikings are kind of playing poor. But Kansas City, I don't think that defense is good enough to where you have to keep them week to week. So I'd go ahead and just stream off of that, Tom. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's all I got on defense right now. So unless you have comments, Jen, I want to hear your secret stash segment.
I have no comments on defense. I think you're right there. That works for me. Let's see here. Okay, so stash. Okay, so we start out usually every week with a stash for week 6, right? So for not for this week, for next week. My stash for next week is a tight end. I have friend of the show, just because we both like him, Cade Otton.
Hey, yeah.
Yes, Tampa Bay, great. He is only 2% rostered right now. He has a bye this week, so can't use him this week. However, he comes back to the Lions and then the Falcons. Lions are 26th in tight end adjusted fantasy points allowed, and the Falcons are 30th. So Cade Otton's a guy that, as we talk about a lot, tight ends is not great. So if he's there in your league, which he's in 98% of them right now, if you have the bench room, grab him now, and then you can play him the next couple weeks. So that's that. And then I've got 2 guys I'm bringing for just stashing for the rest of the season, just in case. First guy is Dolphin wide receiver Braxton Berrios. He is also only 2% rostered. So River Craycraft is now on IR. So he kind of is right there as the wide receiver 3. He was actually the target leader last week. He had one more than Tyreek Hill. Obviously, that's not going to happen every week. It may not happen ever again. However, Braxton Berrios had the most targets last week. They clearly like him. So I feel like it's, if you want to grab a piece of this Miami offense, he's available. The other guys are clearly not. A-Chain is not there anymore. Tyreek Hill is obviously not available. Waddle. So if you want a piece of this offense moving forward, Berrios is out there. He's free in 98% of rosters, and he may do nothing, or he may, if last week's volume is any indication, they may get him more involved. So I have him there as kind of a stash and hold. You look like you want to say something.
I was going to say he's been a PPR demon before in the past, and he has that slot job right now, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and like Anthony says, he's better than Smythe. I mean, they're using him more, so he's a guy that's widely out there. And these stashes he may not pan out, and he's easily droppable, or you can get ahead of the waiver wire by a few weeks. The other guy I have is another guy that's pretty deep. He is 0% rostered right now, and that is Ronnie Rivers, the running back for the Rams. It appears that he is the backup to Kyren Williams, not Zach Evans. So week 3, Williams had 100% of the touches. Last week, Rivers had 28, and Williams had 72. So they are getting him involved. He does not have standalone value right now. However, you never know what's going to happen. He's always, stick him at the end of your bench if you can, and you drop him if he doesn't get anything. And if he does, you have him.
I kind of like Rivers, and Sean McVay never exactly a lock for what he's going to do at the running back position. So you never know. Rivers may earn himself a role.
So there's my stashes for the week.
Excellent. I love them. All right, let's hit a few more questions and then we'll sign off for the day. ZXKK wants to know if they should trade CD to get Jamar Chase. I'm very indifferent to that. I really like both players. Chase is a nice buy low. CD's really good. I think both are going to be solid. Do you have a preference between those two, Jen?
I like CD more. I just like CD more, but I feel like as far as value, they're pretty comparable.
Okay. All right.
Like, I don't know if you need to make that trade, but
yeah. It's kind of a challenge trade. So whichever player you believe in the most makes the most sense. So Eric Dubé wants to know our opinion on David Montgomery. They have Jahmyr Gibbs and they've been playing Gibbs. I think that Montgomery is playing the Jamal Williams role. He's got at least a touchdown in every game so far. He's getting 24 touches a game. I don't see how you sit Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's you just want to know what we think about. You don't have him. You only have Gibbs. Is that I'm confused at the
Sounds
question.
Like they've got both and they've been playing
Gibbs.
Gibbs.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you have, I mean, that's difficult. Mm-hmm. You have to start Montgomery at this point. I mean, he's getting a ridiculous amount of volume and he's efficient as well. Mm-hmm. So
he looks good. And
I feel like, I mean, the thing is that Gibbs looks good too. And his limited touches, they're just only using him for like a specialty guy, which as we all know, makes absolutely no sense with where they drafted him. But, we just have to keep hoping that they're going to get him in there pretty soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it's going to continue to be similar. I think Gibbs will continue to get a little bit of work, but Montgomery's going to get his touches. Like, this is what they did with Jamal Williams last year. They signed David Montgomery to replace Jamal Williams. It kind of makes sense what they're doing. And it's like you said, Jen, it's effective. So Kato wants to know Kirk Cousins or Jordan Love this week. They're kind of close in our rankings. I'd probably lean Cousins just because I think they're going to have to throw against Kansas City, but you could talk me into Love. What do you think?
Cousins or Love? Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Cousins, but I don't think you can. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just in a vacuum, I'd go Cousins. It depends on kind of other things, but yeah, I guess, yeah, Cousins for me.
Makes sense to me. We had a listener question that was sent in. They have the question: Jonathan Taylor for CD Lamb and a full PPR. The Taylor team is good at running back and wide receiver, so. Trying to figure out, it's kind of another challenge trade. Like, if you're good at running back and receiver and you're really just debating which one you like better, I'd probably stick with Lamb because of the uncertainty in Taylor. But I mean, you could talk me into that risk aspect of it. Taylor supposedly looks healthy right now. What do you think of Jonathan Taylor in general, Jen?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me about him this week, and it's so hard to figure out because it was so kind of contentious right before the season started. Like, he definitely did not want to be there, and now all of a sudden he's there. And if he's healthy, like, is he going to give it a full go? I don't know. I mean, I guess he has to. It's tough. I mean, Yeah, like you said, it's kind of an interesting trade there. But as far as Taylor in general, I mean, we all kind of have to wait and see. Like, there's just no way to know how this is going to pan out because we really haven't seen anything super similar, right? We have guys that have held out and then gotten what they wanted, and then or held out. But like, he's kind of in a weird spot, so he has to play if he's back. And they don't trade him. I mean, they can still trade him. That's the thing, right? I mean,
They could. They absolutely could.
I don't know if there's any. I know Miami was a big taker at one point. I can't imagine that they would even remotely consider that right now. That they're already they have an embarrassment of riches of running back, so they certainly don't need that. I don't know.
I want him in Baltimore. That's where I want him. I want him.
That would be fantastic, but I don't know if that's. I don't know if anyone's really talking to to the Colts for him. So we'll have to see.
Yep. All right. Oscar Ramiro wants to know if they should trade Sam Laporta. What running back to target for that? These open-ended are always a little tough for me, and Laporta is going to be valued widely different in a variety of different leagues. Like if it's tight end premium, or if sometimes tight ends just have more value. I would target an RB2, and if you can't get that for him, I would probably just keep Laporta.
I was gonna say I would go for like a Swift or a James Cook or maybe an Aaron Jones, something like that.
Yeah, and if you can't get it, just keep Laporta. Terrell T wants to know Breece Hall or Jordan Addison. To me, you start Breece Hall against Denver, like you just have to.
Addison with a big fat goose egg on everyone's rosters last week, but he's been great up until this point, so I don't hate it. But I think like we said against Denver, you kind of have to start Hall there.
Yeah. Sleepy wants to know if they should trade Ramondre Stevenson or hold. I mean, I don't know what you're going to get for him, so I'd hold. Yeah, I just don't know if you're going to get value enough that makes it make sense.
Well, it depends. I mean, running backs are a pretty hot commodity right now, especially ones with that kind of, there was all this talk last week about Zeke getting all, he did. Ramondre is the lead back there. It's just they're not playing that well, so he's struggling a little bit, but I think he'll get his. I would hold.
Brandon with the excellent name has quality running backs and quality receivers, wants to know if they should pair up Kyron and Pittman for Jamar Chase. I like that. I don't love getting rid of Kyron Williams, but I think that's probably worth it considering you have Travis Etienne and Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. I think that's probably worth the gamble to get Jamar Chase. What do you think, Jen?
Sure.
Yeah. Anthony agreed with you. Sam Laporta, James Cook is the option, is the target there. Thank you, Anthony, for that. Tingley wants to know who they should start: Alvin Kamara, Isaiah Pacheco, or Devon Achane. I got to get that right. Achane.
Is it? I mean, I've heard Achane. I mean, I've heard every possible iteration under the sun, and I don't know. Remember this whole offseason, I kept saying the rookie every time we talked about him because I'm like, I don't even know how to say his name at this point, and I don't know if anyone has the exact right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So who are you sitting between Kamara, Pacheco, and Achane?
Ooh. What scoring format are we talking here?
I'm not sure. If it's a PPR, I'm definitely starting Kamara. Is kind of the way that goes. I think that's where you were kind of headed there.
I was. I would probably sit. Yeah, if it's PPR, Kamara. If it's not, I would maybe sit him or Pacheco. I would start Achane, regardless. So it would be between the other two. Like we said, if it's PPR,
yeah, PPR sit Pacheco, non PPR sit Kamara. I agree with you 100%.
Cool.
Absolutely. Achane, Anthony says. So Achane. So we were between the two of us. We were
Achane or Achane. You see,
well, the what's shown there is Achane. So we'll see, or maybe not. Maybe Achane. I don't know. Well, we'll figure this out by next week. We'll figure this out. One more question, and then we'll get going. Is Jeff Wilson worth keeping at? No, I don't think so. I think you could drop Jeff Wilson. There's reason to stash him, like if there's an injury or something, but right now you got to think he's third in the pecking order. If you need the roster space, I think it's okay to drop Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I think it depends on your situation. Like if you're in a position where you're like 4-0 or 3-1 or something and you have the space, then just hang on to him in case. But if you need wins now and you're hurting, then I would just get rid of him and get someone that's going to give you points now.
Okay, excellent. I think we're going to call it a day there, Jen. Thank you very much. Any final thoughts before we go?
No final thoughts. We made it through another week, another streaming show. Thank you
Yeah.
all everyone that's in the chat. And yeah, we'll be here again next week on Tuesday, same time, same channel.
Absolutely. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Listeners, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. We're here every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come join us throughout the season live on the 4for4 YouTube channel to discuss streamers that'll get you through your fantasy season. You can follow us on Twitter at Jen Akins NFL and at 2guysbrandon. Thanks for checking us out and have a great day.